Happy New Year. Hope you're all well. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jeff White and I sell stock photography on multiple Microstock sites as well as a little bit of book cover photography as well. And I've been working in the industry for the past 10 years and I've managed to take my stock photos and earn a significant amount of money. So if you're completely new to the whole concept of selling stock photography online, particularly through Microstock sites, basically what this is a way to sell your images through online websites to end users through a middleman, and these images are licensed on a non-exclusive basis for small amounts. So what that basically means is that these images can sell for multiple times to multiple people for low dollars. Over the past few years, the market's become very competitive, both with many photographers joining the industry and trying to sell their photos, as well as Microstock agencies decreasing their commissions and selling the images cheaper. And of course, there are other headwinds. Markets change. We're thinking about AI now as stock photographers and what that means for us. There's also many free sites that provide free content to end users. And so all of these market dynamics, like with any industry, can really affect the ability or the opportunity to generate revenue on a go-forward basis for stock photographers. And so many have declared Microstock basically dead, saying that there's really no point in jumping in now. The easy money's gone. And you know, I've had those sentiments myself. But there is an opportunity to make more money. I'm going to show you this quick graph from Adobe Stock just to give you a sense that there is an opportunity to expand. And if you see in this graph from 2022 that my sales have increased over the course of the year and that the amount of revenue that I've generated from those same images has also been increasing in lockstep. So I think there is a chance to generate a portfolio that does earn income on a go-forward basis. So what I want to do is give you my tips and my thoughts on how to approach Microstock photography if you want to start building a portfolio in 2023. So my first thought is that you really need to understand that with Microstock photography, the word micro comes first. This is an industry where your images can sell for very little. You get the 2-cent sales and the 5-cent sales and the 10-cent sales. And it's best to understand that that's kind of the point of the process. But don't forget that you need to look at these sales over a long-term period. So an image can sell hundreds, thousands of times, and look at the value of an image over the course of a significant period of time. That way you don't get trapped into the process of judging yourself and your work and your art based on one sale of 5 cents. And there are resources that I use just to sort of remind myself of this process. For example, on Shutterstock, you can look to see your top earners, and it shows you the number of sales and the total that it's earned over the course of having it on the site and available for licensees. So just keep reminding yourself that this is a Microstock industry and that the sales are going to tend to be low. My point number 2, with that in mind, the thought micro, you have to understand that you're going to have a significant portfolio to generate a sizable amount of income. Now, it can be really hard to generate good earnings with a small portfolio, even with a high quality portfolio. So understand that you're playing a bit of a long game, that it takes a lot of work to build a portfolio that's sizable enough, even if it's good, to generate a substantial amount of income. And in fact, it can be very difficult to generate sizable incomes. And so, the bigger the portfolio, maybe the less it is a side hustle. But, typically you're going to have revenue that reflects more than anything the size of the portfolio that you've managed to upload to the various sites. Tip number 3, build a diverse portfolio. So it's very important to build a diverse portfolio with images or videos, if that's your thing, or vectors or other types of assets that cover a broad spectrum of subject matters and industries. I focus primarily on travel photography myself, and during the COVID pandemic, I really learned that focusing on a single niche can be problematic in terms of revenue. My sales certainly dropped substantially, and I know many others that focus on travel stock had the same experience as I did. What that meant is I needed to reevaluate my portfolio and start looking at uploading images that were related to other things. And so I started looking at product photography and trying to build my skill set in that area because it's a skill set I didn't have. So if you're starting off in stock now, my recommendation is to come in with the mindset right out of the gate that you're going to build a diverse portfolio that's just not focused on one single type of photography or one single type of videos or a narrow niche of vectors. This will also not only help you with sales, but it will also insulate you from shifts in certain segments of the market and demand drops that can really affect your revenue in the near term. Tip number 4, balance your portfolio with all kinds of assets. Now, this tip isn't about looking at different markets specifically or different subject areas specifically. It's about building a portfolio that includes a whole range of assets. Now, different assets can earn you different amounts of revenue per sale. So for example, typically, although not exclusively or always, video sales earn more than photography. And I dabble in photography and videography mostly, so I can't speak to some of the other types of assets that are acceptable, some of these sites like vectors and other types of art. But you have to understand that going in. So if you want to earn more money, that means you need to tailor your approach to uploading the type of assets that generate the most income. And I don't recommend having one type of asset or another type or anything like that. I think it's good to have a diverse portfolio where you actually are uploading videos and images and vectors if you have that skill or other types, just to make sure that you have different revenue streams from those Microstock sites. Now, me personally, I love photography. I like it way more than videography. And if I focused exclusively on videography, I probably wouldn't be in this game. So keep in mind that do what you love, but it's really good to focus on and to understand the value that different assets have and make sure that you upload the type of content that's going to be best for you as far as earning goes. Tip number 5 is don't make the mistake of forgetting about editorial. A huge part of my income comes from editorial photography, both news-related editorial and illustrative editorial and sort of travel editorial, the types of images that have people, brands, logos, all that stuff included in those images. Those can really sell well. I find that they're oftentimes sensitive, so things go out of date a little bit quicker, but because they do go out of date, it does open a little bit of room to come into the market and add new content in. And so don't focus exclusively on royalty-free where there are no brands or logos or people or you have all the releases managed. So that can be a big mistake, and a huge part of my portfolio is editorial based. So go right in and shoot everything right out of the gate. My tip number 6 is to understand the market and the type of agencies that are in the market to help you sell your or license your images to end users. So traditionally the market has consisted of individual Microstock sites where you upload your images or your videos or whatever assets that you have, and then if you want to have them sell on another site, then you have an account on that other site and you go through a repetitive process. And there's a bunch of sites, so for every site you open up an account and you go through your uploading process one at a time, and that's typically what I use. Now recently there have been a number of sites that sort of provided an opportunity for other people who don't want to participate in that sort of activity to upload to one site and have those assets distributed broadly or in exchange for a small commission. So sites like Blackbox Global for video assets, Cavan Images for images and video, and then also Wirestock for images and video. These alternative sites, these newer alternative sites to deliver assets and earn money from them, they exist. Really understand the type of sites that you want to get involved with right off the bat. My tip number 7 is to develop a good workflow right out of the gate. What do I mean by workflow? That is the process of not really, well, sort of taking the images and the videos and stuff like that, but really bringing them into your computer, processing them in a software, keywording, describing, and exporting them to folders, then uploading them to the stock websites. This process can be tedious, to say the least. The more sites that you participate in, there is a potential that you duplicate work. And when you're selling images for small amounts, some images won't sell ever. Some might make you $1,000 in a year. But regardless, you want to make sure that you put as little time into the editing and uploading and submission process as possible. And starting right off the bat with a good workflow that will sort of minimize your time and sort of minimize the pain that goes along with editing and uploading stock and videos. Because like I said already, it can be very tedious, and you want to minimize the pain as much as possible, particularly if this is a side hustle and you're not earning a whole lot of income out of the gate. So really focus on getting a good solid workflow that minimizes your pain. Okay, so those are my top tips for Microstock in 2023. I really hope that if you're thinking about it and you've got a ton of assets, whether they're photos or videos or you want to get into making vectors, that you do try it. It's a rewarding. There's an opportunity to make some money and to meet some other people that are in the stock photography business, which has its own benefits. So all the best in 2023, and hopefully we'll see you out there.